Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 1521, written by Mysterydentalpatient. My roommate's fury transcends space and time. I, 23 female, just got home, was laying in bed relaxing, scrolling through Instagram, and I heard my roommate, 27 male, outside my window, scream. A pure, guttural frick. I heard him punch his truck and say, "God fricking damn it." So I got out of bed to unlock the door because I'm guessing it was a crap day or something. But he wasn't outside. The neighbors were playing with their kids, quiet but somewhat busy street. So I text him, "Are you okay?" And 20 minutes later, I get a text. "I'm on my way home and I'm freaking pissed. Still a 30 to 40 minute drive. He hasn't left work." So when he got home, I asked if he came home and drove off. He said no. I asked if he lost his cool. He asked how I knew that. I said, "Was it around 5:50 p.m.? He said yes. It was around the time he texted me back, 20 minutes later. I asked if he had said those words and punched his truck. He said it was verbatim what he did and said. Not sure what this means. He was over 20 miles away towards the city. There is no way I could hear him during rush hour traffic, but I did. I'm kinda freaked out. Case also file 1521. My roommate's fury transcends space and time. So it appears that mental connections on the soul plane level, they defy distance, or disregard distance, rather. So 20 miles, 20,000, quadrillions of miles separated by light years, it doesn't appear to matter. It is exactly the same as quantum entanglement in principle. And quantum entanglement is so bizarre because you can entangle two particles, and if you affect one, the other one will be affected no matter the distance. It could be light years and light years, which one light year is 6 trillion miles. Regardless of the distance, it could be infinite. Something causes one particle to affect the other instantaneously. And we don't know how. Now, you can't transmit information this way. So that is different because these mental soul connections do transfer information, but the process underlining it might match with whatever affects quantum entanglement to be able to affect the other particle. You can't transmit information via the quantum entanglement because you can't agree upon where the particles are in their initial state. To observe the entangled particles would collapse their waveform and then separate the entanglement. So you can't know what spin orientation one is in and the other without looking and then destroying the entanglement. That's the problem. If you could observe without affecting the particles, then you could transmit information, but as far as we know, you can't do that. Case file number 1522, written by Rich Dimension 9254. My sister was lost in time. This happened to me about 15 years ago, but to this day I cannot explain it. I changed the names to remain anonymous. When I was 15, my family moved into a rental house. There was always a weird energy about that house. I can't explain it, but something was always eerie about it. It was a beautiful old home, and an elderly widow had lived in it before us. She had been an opera singer and college professor in the arts. Her name was Mrs. Martin, and she became kind of a character in the house that we'd reference often, as her children rented us the home with literally all of her belongings still in it. They didn't even clean out the fridge. It was very strange. The house was basically left like the day she passed away. Oh, the attic was infested with bats. It contributed to the spooky factor that was always felt in the house. I never liked staying there by myself, even during the daytime. On the night of the incident, I was home with my best friend Mallory, also 15, her younger sister Olive, 13, and my little sister Emma, 11. Mallory and I were in the living room watching a movie, and Olive and Emma were hanging out in the den, which was a room off of the living room with a door, and they were watching TV. No parents were home at the time. At one point, my sister Emma decided to go upstairs and take a shower. The way the house was set up, there was only one staircase, and you had to walk through the living room to use it. So she came out of the den, walked through the living room, went up, showered, and was up there for maybe half an hour. When she was done, she walked down the stairs in a white towel, stopped on the 6th step, and went, "Hey guys," with a little wave to which we acknowledged her cheerfully. And then she kept walking down the stairs, through the living room by Mallory and I watching TV, and opened the door into the den. and closed it behind her. My mom had been folding clothes down in the den earlier, which is why she came downstairs to get dressed. Maybe 2 to 5 minutes later, Mallory and I are still in the living room, and Olive and, we assume, Emma are watching TV in the den, when we hear from over our shoulder, "Hey guys," in the same inflection and tone as before, and it's my sister, Emma, in a white towel, who had walked down the stairs, was stopped at the 6th step, and had her hand up for a small wave, and then went to keep walking down when Mallory and I both gasped and turned and looked into each other's faces with absolute horror. It happened so quickly, but we both bolted upright, ran to the den, burst open the door to a startled Olive. Emma was trailing close behind with a, "What's going on?" When I opened the door, I truly expected to see another version of my sister sitting there. But no, it was just Olive. Mallory and I immediately began questioning them. "Emma, didn't you just walk down here a couple minutes ago?" "Olive, are you sure Emma didn't come down into the den just a few minutes ago?" "Emma, did you go downstairs after the shower but then go back up somehow?" We knew there was no way she could have come back upstairs without walking by us in the living room. It made no sense. Both the girls were so confused and beginning to get scared. They truly had no idea what we were talking about. Emma swore she had only come down the stairs that one time, and Olive swore she had never walked into the den in a towel before we all came in together just then. Because our sisters were so young at the time, and we could tell they were getting spooked, we decided to just pretend we were kidding and left them to go back to the living room. I remember sitting in silence, and maybe even asking, "You saw that too, right?" And then we never spoke of it again. I honestly didn't even tell my parents or my sister what had happened until a couple years ago. My sister said she had no memory of it at all. I haven't spoken to Mallory since high school, so I have no idea if she remembers it. All I know is, if Mallory hadn't been there to witness it and have the same reaction I did in that moment, before either of us even spoke a word, I probably would have thought I was losing my mind. I'll never forget the look of horror and confusion she gave me. And I probably gave it right back to her when Emma came down the stairs that second time. To this day, it still creeps me out to think about. In the years since, I have read many stories about glitches in the Matrix and seen some about time loops. People witnessing the same event happen twice or more in the same way, usually close together. I believe this is what I and Mallory experienced with my sister that day. We only lived in the house for a year before my parents purchased their own home and we moved. Last year, my sister went back to visit the town and said she drove by that house. Apparently, they had split it into 2 homes to rent it out to the college kids. We both agreed that the strange energy forces that existed in that home were probably not too happy to be split in 2. Case notes of file 1522. My sister was lost in time, so a time loop maybe, but space-time portals tend to linger behind in the same area, so traveling through one doesn't collapse it. Usually, or not usually, they can be unstable, but then there's a visual aura about them when they are, at least in the few times we've seen them collapse. Heard them collapse in stories. And this only happened once, so if it was a loop, it would continue to happen again and again and again, or even if it's just in space, you zip back up, you would have noticed that. So I don't think it can be a space-time portal. Probably multiverse quacksite, which is just to say, you saw your sister in a different universe, and of course for her, nothing was different. She never did that in this universe. There's just so many different copies of us running around doing different things, slightly different in different universes. If we can see them all, we can literally see our loved ones do absolutely anything. Which is very interesting to think about. What do you want to see your loved one do? Maybe you'd always hope that they'd take up dancing or something, and one universe they have, and maybe they're amazing at it. Now time for the quote of the day. "Forgive your enemies, but never forget their names." John F. Kennedy. Yeah, I mean, this is just a variation on forgive, but don't forget. And it makes sense, because yeah, you can forgive someone who's demonstrated that they're trying to change their ways and they're not going to repeat it. One time, maybe 2, but I think just giving person a second chance, but not a third, multiple times after that. Not really that kind of person. You get 1 extra chance with me. But anyways, the idea is that, yeah, you can forgive someone, but you still need to remember what they did, because at any point they could relapse in their ways, you could say. Not necessarily drug related, but you get my gist. Always be mindful of what they did, but don't bring it up to them. It's not malicious ammunition. It's just there to keep you grounded. So maybe don't trust them 100%. Maybe bump it up to 99%, depending on what they did, of course. If they did something extremely small and minor, then it's not a big deal. That'll be up to your judgment. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off.